Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night as you now come in. Share the live. Share the live. Dr. Matthews is in the house. Share the live. I was supposed to start at 6:30, but I got my, technical setbacks, so I'm starting anyhow. So good night to you all. Uh, it is from today onwards that I will be starting at 6:30. So to those who are now joining can get the information. And 6:30 it is. I'm starting back from that time, adjusting myself to the time situation here in Guyana and in the diaspora. So as you now come in, I'll give you another minute. I'll understand that you can join me. Share the live, share the live, share the live. To those who are now joining, share the live. Good night to those who are joining from Guyana and the Caribbean, also in the diaspora. Good evening, good night, good morning, good afternoon, as you are now joining Share the Live. To those who have already who is already here, the show will be starting at 6:30 back again instead of 7:30 to 9. You can share the live. I know there is a big push to those who trying to push, push me out of the broadcasting situation. I've discovered today that my entire system was wiped without my without my permission or giving it the permission to do so, but it's okay. I am good. I'm okay. I am very much okay. So to those who are now joining, black love to you all. Share the live. Don't forget the Black Love brand that I'm promoting on the t-shirts, the pens, pencils, cups. And to let you know that this show is sponsored by Event Management Services and also Greenleaf Distributors. They both are on the same company. Their numbers are 6210197. For the management services, you can call and make your reservations to manage an event or uh, to manage a meeting, to manage transportation, to manage whatever is your desire. Event management services there to give you their services. The Greenleaf distributors is to make sure that you have your vegetation, your fruits, and your dairy products packaged and sent to you at a reasonable price. Call for reservations 6210197, and you can call the same number for the Black Love brand so you can have your Black Love t-shirts, pens, pencils, no, sorry, pens, cups, hats, lingerie, t-shirts at a color of your choice. So call the number and you'll be able to get that information so you can better place your orders and be have your desires filled. So good night to you all once again. Good evening to you all, to those who are now joining. Thank you very much. Good. Tonight I want to discuss a simple topic. And I want to say to you in this topic that I prefer you pay attention. You call one, tell one that Dr. Matthews is on the live. So, good evening to you all once again. Welcome to you this GMS Live, Voice of Democracy, and the GMS Live Radio Guyana. A very pleasant evening to you all from Guyana to the Caribbean Isles, the West Indian Isles, the Pacific Isles, the British Virgin Isles, US Virgin Isles, Mexico, US, Canada, UK, EU, Beijing, Hong Kong, Taiwan, the Korean Peninsula, those from Uzbekistan and Pakistan, Tajikistan and India, those who are looking at us from the Australian continent to New Zealand, those who are looking at us from the Tonga Isles, who are still going through that volcanic eruption about a month, 2 months ago. A pleasant good night to you from those who are looking at us from the African continent. Uh, to those who are looking at us from the South American continent, as far away as Chile and Argentina and Venezuela and Colombia and Brazil and Suriname. Those who are looking at us from the not, French and Dutch Guyana, the Netherlands, Curacao, Trinidad and Tobago, and the Republic of Barbados. A pleasant good evening to you all. Tonight's discussion is simple. It is very, very, very simple. And, we got to talk straight. We can't beat around the bush. So, here what's happening. Guyana is going through a phase. It's a phase of corruption, it's a phase of oil exploration and people taking advantage of us because we're not knowledgeable of the fact. We are being tampered with from the international community because we doesn't know how to exercise such rights. We're not bold enough. We're much afraid to even to exercise our rights. So let me help to extend some knowledge to you about what is going on. Guyana is a non-Arab state. That's one. Guyana is a non-OPEC state. Also two. OPEC, it's an organization of petroleum economic countries, which they sit on a body that calls OPEC, those countries whose economy is very dependent upon oil. They sit upon a body that is called OPEC. So we're not part of that body. OPEC controls the oil price. They control everything within the oil industries. So because Guyana is not an Arab nor an OPEC state, you find policies doesn't drive the ball of the day. And the reason why I'm saying so, if Exxon goes to an OPEC country or to an OPEC state that is being recognized as an OPEC state, they are, and they're now going there to drill, they are policies that they will have to follow because under the OPEC community, they are constitutional policies that every exploring company that wants to go to that particular company to explore the oil revenues there must have to follow that economic constitutional policies. Some people may want to call it local content. But because Guyana is not, and I repeat, because Guyana is not an Arab or an OPEC country, an OPEC representative country, we find Guyana has found itself in a position where constitutionally is not strong. It doesn't know where to begin to start putting rules down. So people, when they come, they can respect us as an oil country. It is not recognized as an oil country. So what is happening before Guyana starts to experience such, how should I put it over, such economic benefits from its oil proceeds, it has to make that application to join an OPEC state because it's not an Arab state anyhow, right? So it will have to make that application to join, and not only that, but to enjoy such economic proceeds from the oil revenue. When I say proceeds, I mean better than 15%. I mean better than 25%. The proceeds that you, let me show you. There is a country that is called South Sudan. It's a $15 billion strong economy on oil and its proceeds. It has a population of more than 14 million people. But that 15 billion is still a little. It's not too much at all. And that is, how should I put it over? That is an Arab state. It is recognized as an Arab state. And it has policies, economic petroleum policies that any country that is coming to do oil business, you understand, in that country, they'll be able to follow certain policies, international policies also too. OPEC is part of the climate change initiative, but they cannot practice such climate change initiative in Guyana because we're not a part of the OPEC community. We're not a part of the Arab oil community. So there is anything economically that we can benefit from these proceeds. We cannot because we are not a part of that signatory allocation. You know, and that here was the problem. Because we don't have such expertise, we are being taken advantage of. Simple, simple understanding. There's an approximately $700 million in the natural resources fund. 700 million US dollars. Approximately. And Exxon gave us a receipt for 9.5 billion US dollars. That are monies that they had spent to start extracting this oil. For any international company will know that that's a loss because if you spend 9.5 billion US dollars to extract 700 million US dollars, that's at a great loss. It makes no sense. Even if you do a feasibility study on it, you cannot proceed to expand or to spend money in something that will not bring you money. Can't bring back the revenue that you spent. It can't bring back the capital that you spent. So you haven't gained from it. It's common sense. Then here was the thing. Under the Donna Ramatar and Jagdio's government, they would have made an arrangement for 1.5% in royalty. Under the David Granger administration, they would have made an arrangement for 2.3% royalty. The thing is that we're surviving on royalty. We can't even survive on the after sale of the oil because in the contract it talked about, and I'm talking about the contract of selling the oil, because we do not have a bulk terminal in Guyana to store this oil from when it was at, when it is being extracted from the from the sea floor, from fracking those rocks. We don't even have a ship to store it, to send it to its destination to be sold. We now have to ask ExxonMobil via way of contract again to sell this oil for us. And after selling the oil, ExxonMobil gains 25% of the after sale value of the oil, while we take 75%. Question is, we don't even know if the oil is beginning to sell. We don't have the companies that can make these levies or levy on behalf of Guyana to sell this oil. We don't have that information. We don't even know if it has been done. That's where we're at. That is the process and where we're at. And here is the hurtful part. Everybody's running around now talking about Sue and who Jack do you know and what's his name Sue. There are two companies that has a larger amount to share on ESO exploration is I'm going to remember it's EECL or EESL. But that's a company that Exxon, that's a local company. I'm going to check it up just now. That's a local company here that Exxon is working under. But not only Exxon is working on, remember, Exxon is a flagship oil company of the United States of America. They have another company, China Oil. They got another company, China Oil. Yes, China Oil Company. That comes under its EECL. ESO explanation. I gotta look it up. I was talking about it about a month ago, and I had it written down somewhere. My memory is a little bit bad, but I remember it what I was saying earlier. That under ESO exploration in Guyana, that local company that ExxonMobil is under, that buys majority of the shares, and China Oil is under, that buys majority of the shares in this company, so they can explore. And a lot of people don't know China's involved. China is deeply invested into this thing. And ask who is at the head of that China Oil. That's a big question. It got people smiling now. So people running around the place, the news media running around the place talking about Sue and what Sue does. Sue's involved in everything in Guyana. Sue's involved in timber, gold, got his percentages in bauxite. He's involved in every economic structure in Guyana. He's invested into it. You think it's he alone? Do you think it's Sue alone? On the news today, it says the Chinese embassy has distanced itself from the corrupt practices of Sue and Jack Dio. But that's not the point. The mere fact is there's a Chinese. Every company that makes deals, like for instance, let me show you this. China under the Inter-American Development Bank, China got involved in the grant because they were given the contract to build most of those roads on the East Coast and on the back road, Mandela Avenue, and all these places. One of their companies got uh, the contract to do so. You know what China did? China brought in prisoners from China to do labor work on that road. That's what they did. And no private contractor from China will have access to such human resources unless the state or the embassy of China is involved. Common sense. Common sense. When by Jagdio and the Chinese had made them those that 1% agreement when the Chinese has given them 40 million US dollars when he was president. Can we remember that? And was that 40 million US dollars come with a lot of sidekicks? You know, people Chinese invested in Guyana and they can barely they just have to pay back 1% on taxation and interest, especially if they're borrowing from the bank. All these tax holidays and kickbacks they had. 40 million Guyana dollars, 40 million US dollars. I think it's every 1 year they got that amount of money from China. So they would have to expand economic benefits to Chinese companies through the Chinese embassy. Like for instance, most of the Chinese stores in Guyana gets their containers through the Chinese embassy. That's how it comes. It doesn't come through customs like the Guyana Revenue Authority. The Chinese embassy collects, it stores in these bond yards, and they come and they pick up and they do this thing. So there's less taxes. Comes on a diplomatic purpose through the Chinese embassy. There's no taxes to be paid. It's waived. They can import anything. That's why they import everything in this country. They bring plastic rice. They bring high dropped eggs. They bring a lot of stuff that are not good for human consumption and they dump it in Guyana and they sell it here. You walk into the Chinese store and you see all kinds of fake things selling for you to consume and wear. It doesn't last long. Now they're taking control of the market. They're rising products and dropping it because they attack the market from all surroundings. Everything they're doing right now, and they can attack the price and how we pay for price or how we pay for produce and services. That's what they do. So anybody want to know what who Sue is? My young I look further. I vex it was a foreign journalist who come to Guyana and decided to ask the question. But I wonder what happened to them investigative journalists who we got here in Guyana. We got a lot, but nobody investigating. Everybody investigating who talk who name and who could sue who. This is what everybody talking. The last time I talked about the running behind Annette Ferguson to find out about this cybercrime charge. They're supposed to be running behind Jack Dio to find out what happened to the 1,400 people that he's responsible for. But up to now, he hasn't answered the question. And he talked about democracy has been brought back to Guyana in 1992. What democracy is he talking about? Democracy has never returned to Guyana. After 1992, we fell into a dictatorship, an autocracy. That's what Guyana fell into. And up to now, we can't catch ourselves after 1992 because it's sheer mayhem. We talking about Sue getting kickbacks from Jack Dio. Everybody know Jack Dio is the biggest scamp Guyana got. So I don't understand what are we looking at. Are we surprised because the foreign journalist caught him off guard? Is none of us has the tenacity to go sit down in front of him and question him like how that foreign journalist did. None of us. Well, he ain't gonna ask me because he got some real questions to me. You understand? They would never allow me to, and I would prefer, I want to go sit in front of him and ask him those questions. I would be very much happy that if his office, the installed office in which he has, as an installed, I don't know what he is, he calls himself the vice president, but he's installed. I don't know since when these boys got executive powers and spending Guyana's money at his own free will. And we're not asking the questions what makes them a legitimate government. That's the questions we need to ask them. We ain't gonna ask them, but Sue, Sue existing long before we took over in 2015. You know Sue, no long Sue there? Sue the only being Sue. But what happened to Gavin Matthews? Eh? What happened to you, the man who's looking at this show right now? Nobody talking about you because nobody cares about you. These boys are public servants. They're supposed to give service to the constituencies that elected them. You can imagine. Look at it. Wait. When they were elected in office in 2010 and rallied through in 2020 and rallied through to 2010, they call themselves duly elected and they behave like terrorists. You could imagine now that they're not duly elected and you can see how they're operating. Hmm? We can see how they're operating. We can see the style in which they have, and we're questioning them, but so it make no sense. What is the plight of the day? We have a company who is taking more than what Sue has. We have a de facto regime that is allowing billions of US dollars what Guyana has never seen yet. 9.5 billion, that's a receipt. And we're not talking about auditing it. All the economists that we have, those big fancy people that call themselves economic doctors and surgeons who can sit down and talk about economy and how it rises. We got a man who's sitting there who doesn't even know a thing, trying to tell the international news media and everybody else that Guyana is a democratic country. Since when? Let him answer the first question. What happened to the 1,400 people? It's more than 14. It's roughly 2,100. But the Guyana police force could only give an account for about 700 people that died. The rest, they can't give an account for. Because during that era was mayhem. Can you remember it was under Janet Jagan that we know about CGX when the Surinamese military chased that oil rig off of the Quarantine River? That is when Guyana knew about oil. This is when everybody knew about oil. And a certain man in nobody oil too, but he just vexed because he didn't get 3% that was promised to the Stabrook block. So he talking, he mouth flying. I waited on them. I looked at everybody, accumulated their information, and they picked up with the vice media, dropped off a bomb. Boom! That's not even a bomb. This not even a bomb. So ain't no bomb. So it's just a drop in the ocean. Comparing to what we will be left with, not only to pay but to fine. The money we they talking about, all the taxations and all the freeness that's so experience, that's just a drop. Not even in the ocean. There's a drop in the Lamaha Canal. Comparing to what they're extracting and taking from Guyana. That's the thing. And everybody running crazy about Sue. I watched everything last night, and it's amazing. Everybody talking about Sue, nobody talking about China Oil Company though. China Oil. Nobody talking about China Oil. Nobody investigating about that. That information becomes a look, a drop that they're talking about too. That information is just a drop in the Lamaha Canal. They ain't even flood in Georgetown. Like what we had in 2005, there ain't no flood. So ain't no flood. So it's just a rub at the top of all the corruption that is happening. So it's just a rub at the top. What about all the narcotics, economic benefits that Jack Dio experienced when he was president? Remember, Guyana was a narco state then. Billions of dollars them boys had. Drugs is flowing through Guyana like crazy. And people are dying. Nobody asks them questions. They're more bigger than Sue. You know what's bigger than Sue? Huh? We can't give an account for nearly 300 million US dollars that were in this the in the special account, not the natural resources fund. The account that is go to spend all the government, all the taxpayers' money. We ain't talking about that yet. Nobody still can't give an account. Nearly 300 million US dollars. Are we talking about Sue? You know what bigger than Sue? Last year they went to Parliament. You forgot? They spent 2 days to pass a $27 billion emergency fund. Forget the friends on the private sector commission. You forget the part? And they give 27 billion Guyana dollars. That is money to pay public servants for more than 15 years from now. And then they give public servant $4,500 across the board. Taxed too. That bigger than Sue. Nobody expounded upon it. This is supposed to be a talk till now. What an insult. And to know that the budget passed of $500 billion when they can raise the tax levy at least to 200,000 Guyana dollars. So Guyanese can have a normal way of life. They can function, they can survive. No, they don't want to talk about that. That suddenly gone through the door. Can't say nothing about that, you're mad. That is bigger than Sue. I telling y'all, this bigger than Sue. What happened to Barrett? Barrett didn't expect that nobody would have known his little business, or people would have known his business, but he didn't expect that somebody would have challenged him because everybody's so much afraid of challenging him. Hmm? Yes, this what happened with he. He know that somebody will challenge him. Somebody will bring out some information that he expected not, because his secrets are so well covered. Heaven knows. Who else? But nobody's doing the investigation. Because if you go around doing the investigation, you might turn up dead. Yes. So to those who are now joining, you can share the live. Let everyone know that Dr. Matthews is in town and he's talking. And it's straight talk tonight, straight out to the bush. Hmm? So, this certain international agreement does not apply to the petroleum companies that comes in Guyana, because Guyana is not an OPEC or an an Arab state. So countries and companies are capitalizing upon the lack of knowledge. Also, they cannot approach Arab countries or OPEC states for help because of recognition. And I'm talking about Guyana. Guyana can't approach the OPEC countries or the Arab states for help because there's no recognition. You have to be recognized for the policies that governs these states that talks about oil and its industry and the policies that all these companies and countries has to follow when investing in those countries. Guyana is not under that recognition of OPEC states and Arab countries or Arab states that deals with oil. So there's no recognition. So how can you be helped? So you'll be left in the hands of the wolves. Exxon was correct when they say they follow policies. Indeed, in OPEC and Arab countries where they follow policies and they cannot disregard those policies. But in Guyana, that is not a part of the OPEC community and as not a part of the Arab oil producing countries. They have no respect for Guyana. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. They don't have any respect. You think they have respect for the Guyanese population? You think they have respect for that installed piece of nonsense? They don't have respect. And I call him nonsense because he doesn't have a clue. He just signed in Guyana away. Doesn't have a clue. And you know what? They're all lined up for it. They like it. It sounds nice. Oh, 15 million, 20 million US dollars where we can sell out, we sell for it. Now companies has a thing to say, well, there's now see how they garner their money by receiving hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts. Why do you think that budget went to $500 million? Billion dollars. So companies can be awarded those monies. So they can tell the American chambers, well, you see, this is how we are gaining our monies. We can give accountability for it by contracts given. But you know, they're always asking what happened before. How can you give accountability for your establishment to how you established yourself? Those are the questions that are being asked. Them questions bigger than Sue. You're talking about Sue? Them questions bigger than Sue, friend. Far bigger than Sue. You know what's another question bigger than Sue? Here is another question bigger than Sue. The Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Public Health cannot up to this day put systems in place if a child going to school becomes infected with the Omicron, who now takes it home and infect the entire household. What health system is in place to cover that? None. None. None whatsoever. But the why your children go to school. They want them to become a part of the dying community in Guyana. 1,800 something people and counting. They're dropping like flies. No system is put in place. The bigger than Sue, friend. These people want we die out in a bundle. The faster we die, the better for them. Because they know they got a voting time coming around. Yes, they know they got a voting time coming around. It is a sad state of affairs in Guyana. Straight talk. It is. And we so focus on the things of the day that catches our eye. Okay, you know the usual thing. You know the usual thing. I tell you, these boys, these boys in the PPTP, they always hunting you down. They don't like where you to stop. You know, I'm back though. You know the usual thing. They're gonna always hit you. They're gonna always hit you with hurt them the most. But here is the thing now, guys. You got to keep sharing this live. You got to. This is the only way this message is going to reach out there. Because the topic tonight is a straight talk. People surprised about Sue. Man, we got bigger things running in this country. They're bigger than Sue. Bigger than Sue. I'm telling you, it's bigger than Sue. Believe you me, y'all watch it. Sue is just a distraction right now. Sue is just a distraction right now. At least I haven't seen the entire interview, but it was the It was the dictator's office that put out the edit of that video. They didn't wait until the company that came down here, Vice News, to put that information out. You understand? But it's okay. It's all right. I understand the feelings. They want to make sure that Guyanese get to understand what the questions were asked before Vice News put it out. And they got the answers. But I haven't seen the entire video as yet. Vice News hasn't made that publication available to all Guyanese. Maybe they kept it for themselves after the bigger question. Somehow I would have think and believe that there were more questions added to that edited version by the dictator's office. And the reason why I say dictator, because that's who he is. He's a dictator. Barrett no pet. You understand? And boys no pet. And boys full dictators. They know who to pinch to make we scream and bawl. That's what they're accustomed to. So, as I continue, Guyanese all, the biggest story that is bigger than Sue is the oil contracts that are being made available to companies that are now coming into the country that we don't know about. That's one. Number two, the de facto regime and the other parties are not in for renegotiating the 5-year deal of every contract. So nobody is stepping up to the plate. That's bigger than Sue. And we cannot leave our country. We cannot leave the taxpayers' dollars. We cannot leave the economic benefits of our country in the hands of some dictators. It's impossible. It's impossible. Hey man, we got to pick sense out of nonsense. How can a party win an election that has never ever done anything good economically for this country? Again, I mean, I know we just sit down and take some jobs, but I don't think we should chop it as Guyanese. I know we in such a pity. There are enough evidence are now being brought to the table in light on social media where conversations are being taped and people are hearing what's on people's mind. It's impossible for you to tell me that we such a pity again. And this boy talking about democracy. And the dunce we got can't even go and sit down to talk about reparation or pronounce the word properly for black people. He hasn't even experienced one day of oppression in his life. And he claimed to be representing me. And talk about one Guyana. And it's so disrespectful that they want to create a note, a $2,000 note that represents India. I talk straight, I don't bend it and twist it. You check the colors. Check the colors. This how these people are disrespectful to me. Them think they're bigger than Sue. Them boys still got people in oppression and still want to keep you there. And still are using their friends who's part of the private sector to keep you there. so you can become and stay oppressed all the time. And you're talking about emotional distress. You got Guyanese living in emotional distress. Hmm? You got Guyanese living in emotional distress. Plenty. You got Guyanese going through circumstantial constraints that is bigger than Sue. Media. You got people who are experiencing poverty for the first time in an oil rich country. Let me show you how these boys bigger than Sue. You got a minister, a senior minister within the office of the present responsibility of finance, who is not accountable to anyone. If the Public Procurement Commission is established, which finance minister are you going to pull in to question, to give answers to when we don't have? I tell you all already, we don't have a finance ministry. We have an Office of Financial Affairs. And the most important economic ministry in Guyana, which is the Ministry of Finance, cannot and does not exist. These people sit at the top of all Guyana's benefits, economic benefits, and spend it as they feel like. That is bigger than Sue. If y'all want to ask me, that is bigger than Sue. And we're talking. Since we meet up today, why we think, because we are so guided by what comes out of these people's mouths that we don't intend to see far beyond them. We don't intend to see the bigger picture. This picture big. The money sound nice, but we don't understand the impact of 9.5 billion US dollars. We ain't understand the impact yet. One company spent 9.5 billion US dollars. I'll give you the receipt. One company. Now, we can see the contractual deal in borrowing 1.6 billion US dollars from China. That is bigger than Sue. We can see the contracted agreement in borrowing that amount of money, but it is borrowed. We don't know what they're giving up in case we cannot pay. We don't know what is made, the deals that is made if we cannot pay on the monies that we borrow. But what we know is that, like every other country that doesn't have proper accountability, and Exxon and all the rest of oil companies take advantage of, because constitutional accountability is not there for that part of the economic sector of that country. Wait and see how long. You could imagine they want to rush a Natural Resources Act Fund 2021 through the National Assembly so they could go and dig out the money. But they're rushing the local content information through the National Assembly so could communities can benefit, or Guyana can benefit from such oil resources. They're rushing it through the national, through the Parliament or the National Assemblies. They're not rushing it through. Got to stand easy, stay right there. That is bigger than Sue. Believe you me, Sue is just a drop in the Yamaha Canal. Guyanese, do not be fooled. Don't take your eye off the prize. Don't take your eyes off the information that is gathered to give to you. It's bigger than that. Trust me, it's bigger than that. So, what we need to do is constantly educate ourselves. You know why I'm telling you though? We got to stop think Guyana's currency. We got to stop think of a local currency. We got to start thinking about foreign currency. You hear the understanding in the budget. It was to created. It was to be created. Sorry, it was created for macro investment. So one of which one of them small business got involved in making this bread. Macro investment is companies who are macro established who's going to get most of those contracts. Telling you, it's companies who has macro establishment through their corrupt practices are going to be at the helms of those deals, and the small business are going to be given access to the crumbs that fall off the table. So, as the normal man, you can imagine, understand the temerity and the poverty in this a $500 billion economy, as so as we look like now, and the tax threshold is $75,000. 500 billion, and we sitting down very calmly and allow these people to take our money away from us. This dictatorship of a de facto regime. That's who they are. Believe you me, that is who they are. That's how you identify them. Boy, oh boy, we're in for a hell of a time. Telling you, it's going to be a hell of a hobble in this country. It will. It will. And you think you could talk to them after? Well, you don't can't talk to them already. You don't can't talk to them already. All they want is the Guyanese to pack up and beat out. That's what they want right now. They want us to pack up, beat out this country, don't come back, so they can have access. They can have immediate and uninterrupted access to Guyana's wealth without answering how it will be spent and when it would be spent. That is bigger than Sue. You see the ratting at time? He was surprised about the question, but he's telling at time because he knows Sue ain't bigger than he. He knows very well Sue ain't bigger than he. Sue is just a drop in the Lamar Canal. The rat knows that Sue ain't bigger than he, friend. The information that we're pushing out there, believe you me, Sue, huh, like a speck of dust. The information that go there, maybe it wasn't intended at the time, but the time came and it came out. You could imagine what more else we don't know of. We don't even know of the accumulated wealth of all the companies that who has under him that are registered. Could imagine that. And we're left in the wilderness because we got a tech. We could only depend upon what they're giving us as information. That's what we could only depend upon, what they are giving us as information. We can't depend upon nothing more else. We got to take it and run wild with it. Everybody's talking about it. Ask yourself if it makes sense. Ask yourself. People are being infected each day with the Omicron. Children are being infected each day with the Omicron. That is bigger than Sue. What measures are we putting in place? They want to expound upon information more. They said, oh, Guyana has a population of 9,000 plus HIV patients, and only 2,000 plus of them are not getting access to their medication. You could imagine this would bring in over the radio for you here. And whilst Guyana's wealth is escaping in the pockets of many, they're not giving that information out. They ain't even talking about it. When are they going to talk about it? Nobody knows. When you ask the de facto numbnuts about the fishing industry, he suddenly becomes a scientist. Oh, oil exploration has nothing to do with marine industry and disappearance of marine. It does. If you have a generator in the seafloor and chemicals are being pumped around that same generator and the pump that extracts the oil, the natural gas, what you think is going to happen? The fish going to still swim there? Think about it. SO is a signatory to the SO, not SO, Exxon. Exxon promised the world that they are going to reduce flaring to at least zero emissions by 2050. But Guyana is not included. Guyana is not included because Guyana is not a part of the OPEC community, nor a part of the Arab states of oil product, or Arab oil production states. Guyana is not a part of that. So the policies that surround those states is not applied to Guyana. Did I just talk a secret out? Or nobody's examining it? Did I just mention something that is new to somebody? Can you imagine food? Guyana is the only country in the Caribbean states and one of the countries on the South American continent that had its own food security. It's now being demolished or diminished because you know why? The executives of countries worldwide decide to put a price on Guyana. So we have to follow with it. You can't grow food unless you apply these products to the growth of your food. The poison, or don't sell it at all, so it becomes expensive for the farmers to grow their food because the Ministry of Agriculture or the scientists or these people that deal with agriculture are giving them the false information about growing food now. If you don't get this, this can't grow. But you're not reading the fine print on the label before they water the legumes or the vegetables. They're not reading the fine print. They're not seeing how poisonous it is. Since when We gotta beat the earth in which things grow in Guyana for something to grow. Since when? I'm not telling you 300 pounds, $300 for a pound of banana. Since when we got beat the sucker for the banana grow? All we gotta do is chop it down to a point where it grows, the sucker grows back. Since when we got tell the banana or the planting when to grow? And then they're telling you we got buy fertilizer. Fertilizer expensive. This is the talk. And when you start growing your own food, when you start doing your own things to feed your family and your community, then they hear you're not a corporation. You're illegal. Since when? Guyana has a law. In that law, that part of the constitution, it says claim where you stand. A lot of people are doing that now. The Linden Suzaik Highway is full of that. People encroaching on people's lease, and when they want to claim it, they're making sure they're going behind the back to claim rights because they've been there for over 5 years. They, they, they're making sure that they study that part of the law, but the part to hold the de facto installed illicit illegal regime accountable. They ain't studying the part. Yes, I'm talking to the media. Add your name to it. Do proper investigative reporting. Inform the people. Hold the de facto regime accountable. Hold them to their feet. They must be transparent. The money's not even theirs legally. And they're operating like we give them the permission to do that. Could imagine that. To those who are looking, I want to say that tonight and every other night, I will be on back from 6:30 to 8, where the discussion will continue. I think there's more mortal to the pistol that is grinding to informations that are now coming out. They are. Some people are being distracted by what is being there or being distracted by a gaff. I don't mind. Keep your eyes on the price. Stay focused, Guyanese. Black Love is the promotion. It is still selling. Make your orders. I'm going to